Hey guys, Isabella here. We are back for some more real stories behind Disney movies. So, technically this one has some of the same ones that I read in that last video, but I think this one has a lot more backstory to it. So I thought we would read a little more about them. So yeah, let's get right into it. When I was a kid, I loved fairy tales. I loved the idea of talking animals and brave girls and boys who overcome cruel caretakers. I also really loved Disney movies. They all had a happy ending, so what's not to love about that? I could watch Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin every single day. When I got a little older, I graduated from watching Disney movies to reading Brothers Grimm. In the 4th grade, I checked out the complete fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. That's the one I have from my school library and never returned it. I was horrified to find that the origins of many of my favorite Disney movies had much more gruesome details that Disney completely left out. Cinderella. In the Brothers Grimm version of Cinderella, one of Cinderella's evil stepsisters cuts off her toes and the other her heel, so they could both fit into the tiny glass slipper. The prince is notified by little doves that there is blood in the shoe, and finally discover that the true owner is Cinderella. One of the stepsisters realize this, and they would try to win favor of Cinderella. After all, she will be queen. That they attend her wedding, only to have their eyes being pecked out by birds. Did they deserve it? I will let you decide. Some other side notes on this story. Cinderella doesn't have a fairy godmother. Rather, she plants a tree by her mother's grave and prays under it every day. She finds her dress to wear in each ball under the tree. There are 3 in the story, not like in the movie. And she is still helped by animals, though specifically birds and not mice. Although she doesn't just lose her shoe because she's in a rush. The clever prince covers the steps in pitch to make her stick to them, but she only loses a shoe in the process. The Little Mermaid. Hans Christian Andersen's classic tale is a 180 from the Disney film. Some parts align. She does see the prince from afar in his ship, and she does rescue him from drowning and fall in love with him. He doesn't see her, and she does visit the sea witch who takes her tongue in exchange for legs, and she does do it because the Little Mermaid has an amazing voice. The deal is the same. The mermaid can only remain a human if she finds true love's kiss, and the prince falls in love with her and marries her. However, the penalty in the movie is that Ariel will turn back into a mermaid if she fails. In the story, she will die if she fails. Also, while the prince remains a main motivator, the mermaid in the story is also motivated because humans have eternal souls and mermaids don't. The Disney movie leaves out that the penalty the mermaid pays for having legs is every single step she takes will feel like she's walking on shards of glass. At first, it seems like the plan is working, but the prince ends up marrying another woman he thinks is the person who saved him. The mermaid can't exactly tell him the truth, and she can't talk, and she is told that if she kills the prince, then she can simply turn back into a mermaid, and she doesn't have to die. She can't just do it, though. She throws herself into the sea and turns into sea foam, though it should be mentioned that she becomes a daughter of the air, entering a kind of purgatory where she has to do some good things until maybe she earns a soul, which will take about 300 years to happen. So how is that for a happy ending? Yikes. Fox and the Hound. The Fox and the Hound is based on a 1967 novel written by Daniel P. Mannix. In the book, the fox is raised by a dog's owner/hunter's family, but eventually returns to the wild. He occasionally returns to taunt the dog and flash his cunning fox skills. One of the dogs breaks his chain and chases him, and that dog ends up getting hit by a train. The hunter is devastated and vows revenge on the fox, and he becomes obsessed but never can catch him. Although he does kill the fox's first mate, second mate, and children. Eventually, Todd, the fox, does die, but of exhaustion from being chased so much. Copper is so old that he needs to be shot, and that is the end of the book. Pretty different from the movie, where a puppy and a baby fox become best friends for life. That's depressing. Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is actually pretty accurate, except for some uninteresting details, like how Belle's father used to be rich and got himself into major debt. There is one unfortunate detail that the story does leave out. In the first believed version of the fairy tale, Belle has 2 wicked sisters. A lot of wicked family members in fairy tales, unfortunately. The Beast allows Belle to travel home as long as she is gone for a week. Her sisters are extremely jealous to hear about her luxurious life and try to persuade Belle to stay with them longer than a week, in hopes that the Beast will be infiltrated with Belle and then eat her alive upon her return. Yikes. Disney's Pinocchio. Disney's Pinocchio came from Carlo Collodi's 1883 Italian classic, The Adventures of Pinocchio. You might think Pinocchio was mischievous in the movie, but he is far more so in the book. In the book, he runs away as soon as he learns to walk, and he is found by the police who imprison Geppetto because they believed Pinocchio was abused. Pinocchio returns home where he kills a talking cricket who warns him about the dangers of hedonistic pleasures and obedience. Geppetto is released and insists that Pinocchio goes to school. Pinocchio sells his school books for a ticket to the Great Marionette Theater, and he encounters a fox and a cat who steal his money and unsuccessfully try to hang him. Luckily, after saving Geppetto from the terrible dogfish, you might know it better as the gigantic angry whale from the film, Pinocchio shapes up and eventually becomes a real boy, and, all that stuff about boys getting turned into donkeys and sold to evil circuses did end up making it into the movie, surprisingly. Sleeping Beauty. That tale, which is the actual origin of Sleeping Beauty's story. A king happens to walk by Sleeping Beauty's castle and knocks on the door. When no one answers, he climbs up a ladder through the window, and he finds a princess and calls to her, but as she is unconscious, she does not wake up. Well, dear reader, he carries her to bed and then rapes her, and just leaves. She awakens after giving birth because one of the twins sucked the flax from the spindle out of her finger. The king comes back, and despite him having raped her, they end up falling in love? However, another big problem. The king is still married to someone else. His wife finds out and not only tries to have the twins killed, cooked, and fed to the king, but also tries to burn the princess at the stake. Luckily, she is unsuccessful, and the king and the princess get married and live happily ever after, despite the fact that he raped her. Perrault's adaptation of Basile's adaptation of the story, a much tamer version, is probably what was used for the Disney adaptation, as they are much more similar. Yikes. Tangled. I know this one is a pretty loose adaptation, but I still think it's worth mentioning. In the Brothers Grimm version, Rapunzel gets knocked up by the prince before they escaped, and the evil sorceress figures it out. The sorceress cuts off Rapunzel's hair and throws her out into the wild wilderness, and when the prince shows up to see her, the sorceress dangles Rapunzel's cut-off hair to lure him and tells him he will never see Rapunzel again. He jumps out the window in despair and is blinded by the thorns below. He wanders around aimlessly, which he's blind, and Rapunzel gives birth to twins, and he's eventually guided back to here when he hears her voice. Her tears restore his sight, and they return to the prince's kingdom and live happily ever after. See? Some fairy tales do actually have happy endings, even when women have babies out of wedlock. Why is everyone having twins? The Lion King. Oh, you didn't know that The Lion King was a loose adaptation of Shakespeare's Hamlet? Well, fancy that. A jealous brother kills the king, and the son finds out about it and wants revenge. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, Timon and Pumbaa distract him, but finally the son kills the evil jealous brother. Actually in Shakespeare's version everyone dies, not just the evil jealous brother, formerly known as Claudius. Oh my god, my arms are fucking itchy. Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. In the Brothers Grimm version, the evil queen's stepmother asks a hunter to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. This also happens in the Disney movie. However, in the story, she asks him to also bring back Snow White's lungs and liver. He can't kill Snow White, so he brings back a boar's lung and liver instead. Then the queen eats the lungs and liver, believing them to be Snow White's. Yuck. In the book, the queen tries twice to unsuccessfully kill Snow White. The third time, when the queen gives her an apple, just like in the movie, Snow White faints and can't be revived. She's placed in a glass coffin. A prince comes and wants to take her away, even though she is still asleep, which is pretty weird. The dwarves hesitantly allow it, and while she is being carried, the carrier trips, causing the poisoned apple to become dislodged from Snow White's throat. She and the prince, of course, get married, and the evil queen is invited, but as a punishment, she is forced to wear burning hot iron shoes and dance until she drops dead. What is with every prince wanting to just steal or rape sleeping princesses? Like, I don't get it. So yeah, there's the ending to that one. I think that is, pretty much it. Once again, these are pretty much the same of what I read in the last video, but they're more extended versions because I didn't know The Lion King and Snow White wasn't on there, and there's more about, updates, which is cool. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments, and yeah, if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and hit the bell so you're notified of videos, which is daily. I love you guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.